everyone and welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Maria, and if you're not, hello again and thank you very much for watching. So in today's video I'm actually going to teach you how to choose a perfect eyeshadow palette for yourself, because I know that the market is flooded with eyeshadow palettes at the moment and it's very hard to choose a good eyeshadow palette. So we're going to cover all the basics today so that you can be able to choose a great eyeshadow palette by yourself, for yourself of course, or for someone else. And so we're going to be talking about the purpose of the eyeshadow palette, the texture of the shadows, the pigmentation, and of course the finish. So yeah, if you're interested in that, stay tuned and watch the video. We're going to do some swatches and all that fun stuff in just a minute. Okay, so let's start with the purpose of the eyeshadow palette first. So you have your basic nude palettes and you have some more colorful palettes. I would suggest going for a very nude matte palette first. If you own a great nude matte palette, then maybe you can venture out to something more shimmery, metallic, colorful, and all that stuff. So that's the first thing that you need to keep in mind. The second thing, in the terms of quality of the eyeshadow palette itself, it is very important to do some swatches on your hands and feel the texture of the eyeshadows. The more chalky ones are not good, so you need to go for an eyeshadow that is silky, smooth, and buttery. That is very important, because if you go for a chalkier eyeshadow palette, it will most likely not blend that well and it will leave a mess. I'm going to show you some swatches of some chalky eyeshadows and some that are very creamy and smooth. So yeah. The third thing you'd be able to notice when you do your swatches is the pigmentation of the eyeshadows. So you should opt for more pigmented eyeshadows because those are usually better quality. Some people like less pigmented eyeshadow and you can build up the color slowly, and that's sometimes good for beginners, but I would suggest opting for a more pigmented eyeshadow, the one that provides more coverage. And I'm going to insert some photos here as well so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to start by showing you some palettes. This is an Essence palette and it's a typical nude palette. You get a matte row, which is very important to create the transition. This one is from L'Oreal. You also get your basic mattes and some shimmers. The next two will be just a little bit more expensive, but not high-end. These are from Juvia's Place. These are extremely pigmented and the shimmers are amazing. You get your pops of color, brow bone highlight, as well as some transition matte shades. You always need to use matte shades to create your transition. Never use shimmers in the crease. This one as well. Okay, and now it's time for some high-end palettes. I'm not going to swatch any luxury palettes because I don't have any. So this is a Sweet Peach palette, and this one is amazing. You get your transition shades, a brow bone highlight, as well as some pops of colors. It's very versatile and it's very nice. So this one I highly recommend. The last one is very famous. It's Modern Renaissance palette. As you can see, I've used this one a lot. And you also get your basic mattes as well as some very interesting mattes and shimmers. Okay, now I'm going to do some swatches to show you the differences in pigmentation and all that stuff we were talking about earlier. I'm going to start with some drugstore palettes. Okay, so first this Essence palette. This is the first shade. It's a little bit light, so it's not even showing up on my skin. As you can see, it's a little bit powdery. It feels creamy to the touch, but this swatch isn't very even and nice. You can see that residue of powder on top. Okay, let's see what this one looks like. This is the L'Oreal palette. I don't know the name. This one is a little bit better, I think, but it's still very sheer, as you can see. And the pigmentation isn't very even. Okay, now the more expensive palettes. These are around $20. The previous ones were around $10. Okay, so let's see the swatches of these two. I'm choosing similar shades. As you can see, these mattes are a little bit powdery, but they are more evenly pigmented. They have much more pigment. From beginning to the end of the swatch, you get some color. I'm going to swatch a shimmer shade just to show you how beautiful these are. Okay, now it's time for the higher end palettes. And I'm going to start with the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette and the shade Puree. Okay, so see how these swatches are very even and nice. You can definitely see the difference in person. I don't know if you can see it in the video. And the Anastasia one. And these feel much smoother to the touch. And those are all the swatches. And the last thing you should pay attention to is the finish of the eyeshadows. You have your basic mattes, you have your shimmers and your metallics. So in a minute I'm going to show you what you can do with your eyeshadows and how to use them. Okay, so this is a representation of different types of finishes. And now I'm going to show you how to use your eyeshadows. Usually, most of the time, we create the natural shadows on the eyes using brown tones. As you can see on the left side, I've used from lightest to darkest brown shade. You can even use a black shade in the outer V. So you need matte brown shades to create depth in the crease, and you can use shimmers to create that little pop on the eyelid itself. But you should never use shimmers in your crease, and we always need to define that crease. So it's very important to have those matte brown shades. If you don't have them, you should gravitate toward a palette that has these shades. Okay. If you're a little bit older, you should stay away from very metallic shimmery shades because they enhance the wrinkles on the eyes and they can make you look even worse. So stick with lighter shimmery shades and you will be fine. Or mattes. Mattes suit everyone. Okay, so that's all the advice I'm going to give you today. Wait a minute, just one more piece of advice, and that's to get a good quality neutrals palette if you can. something like this would be excellent. These two palettes are actually amazing. This one especially, this is one of my favorites, and you get all your basic matte neutrals, and you get some pops of color, some shimmers. It's a great palette and it smells amazing. It is a little bit pricey, and I know most of you cannot afford it, but if you can, go for this one. If not, there are great eyeshadow palettes on the market that are much cheaper. For example, these are great. I showed you the pigmentation of these. These are really amazing. You can get it on Beauty Bay if you're in Europe, and on their website if you're from the United States. Yeah. That concludes this video. If you like it, leave it a thumbs up, and please subscribe. If you have any questions and suggestions, leave them down below, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!